My name is Scott Willis. I'm a doctoral candidate at California University of Pennsylvania. This presentation serves as a reflection of the leadership strategies used during the planning and implementation process of the Pushups with Police Community Service Learning event and the resulting outcomes. There were 4 goals when setting up this project. The first was to identify or create a community service learning opportunity. The second was to take on a leadership role with whichever opportunity was decided upon. The third was to solicit the help of a minimum of 5 volunteers. And finally, the event was to be completed before May 5th. Various documentation was required along the planning process. Official documentation included a proposal, a charter, and a work schedule. And unofficial documentation included notes that I took during meetings and throughout email correspondence with team members. As I mentioned before, this is a community service learning opportunity. The community involved in the Push-Ups with Police event included the Case Western Reserve faculty and staff. The service opportunity within this event included reaching out to the Case Western Reserve Police Department, and the learning opportunity tagged to this event was to incorporate a fitness-oriented lifestyle behavior into the participants' regular activities. As the team manager, I was tasked with soliciting the help of a minimum of 5 volunteers. The 6 volunteers I was able to solicit for the planning of my event and the implementation of my event are listed on this slide. Tangela Scott, Sarah Ziantz, Becky Rocker, Chief Jay Hodge, Frank Dems, and Elizabeth Click were all members of my team. I approached these volunteers with the leadership styles of democratic and participative, in communication styles of task-oriented and people-oriented. I used the democratic and participative leadership styles because I wanted to not only gain experience from them, but have them be working members of the event as well. I wanted to work directly with them, not be a step above them. Their opinions mattered to me, and I wanted to be able to incorporate them into the creation of the event. Obviously, the event had a purpose, so there was a task at hand, which is why I implemented a task-oriented communication style. But in educating people and working with people, I wanted to make sure that people were at the center of the planning process, and that's why a people-oriented communication style was also used. The first formal meeting took place on February 21st. I met with Tangela Scott, the personal training manager at One to One Fitness, and we discussed the proposal, which she approved at that time, and she wanted to narrow the scope of the event. I had a lot of ideas running through my head, so she asked what the purpose of the event would be, and who, what, when, where, and why the event would be taking place. This meeting also allowed for discussion of date and time, in which we were very open at this point, but we did narrow the location to being held at One to One Fitness, and a variety of different rooms within the building were up in the air about for usage. And then Tangela also suggested speaking with Chief Jay Hodge as a starting point to incorporate the Case Western Police Department. The second meeting was also held with Tangela Scott. She approved my email that I would be sending to coworkers to ask for their help with this event, and she also approved my project charter at this time. The second meeting took place on March 8th. The third meeting took place with Chief Jay Hodge and Frank Dems, Executive Director of Public Safety at Case Western Reserve University. This meeting took place on March 15th, in which point they approved the project charter. Chief Hodge suggested that weekdays were better than weekends because there are more officers available around campus who could show up for the event and participate. And Frank suggested that I meet or contact Elizabeth Click to help with the marketing of the event. Elizabeth Click is the medical director at Case Western Reserve University, and she runs a wellness program on campus called Keep America Active. Frank also was concerned about the PR for the event. He wanted to make sure that this event would be on public record because Frank's job is to make sure that positive public relations are incorporated into the department's daily activities so as to promote the department as a positive social force. The fourth meeting occurred on March 18th. I met with Sarah Ziantz. She's the associate director at One to One Fitness. She also approved the project charter and further helped narrow the date and time. We were able to land on 2 dates. The first would be April 10th, and the second would be April 24th, both Wednesdays. And she also suggested using the lunchtime, which runs from noon to 1 at Case. We decided to go an extra half hour ahead of noon and an extra half hour after 1 o'clock for additional faculty and staff members who may have an early or late lunch. So the project event would actually occur between 11:30 and 1:30 was the time that we decided upon. We decided that the location of the event would take place in the new functional training space located within One to One Fitness, and we decided upon that event because it would be great marketing for the space. The audience, after discussing with Sarah about the possibility of reaching out to Elizabeth Click, the audience was narrowed to the Keep America Active group. She wanted to make sure that the event didn't get too large, and there's over 450 participants in the wellness program. And so Sarah took it upon herself to contact Elizabeth Click after our meeting to see if it would be possible to connect with the Keep America Active group, and also to see if Elizabeth Click would be able to market the event internally through Case Western Reserve channels, as opposed to coming from the gym where we may not be able to reach all of those participants. All the other communication between myself and team members was informal. A lot of the communication came from emails. I also used delegation as a leadership strategy, as I just spoke upon. Sarah Ziantz contacted Elizabeth Click. Additionally, Tangela Scott controlled the registration for the event after Elizabeth Click had sent out the marketing pieces to the Keep America Active Wellness Group. Chief Jay Hodge contacted the officers within his department to gauge how much interest there would be in officers joining and helping out for the event. And I use these delegation strategies as a way to embody trust within the team members that I had selected for this event. And it also helps with a greater personal understanding of how they could utilize their skills compared to the skills that I had, knowing that I am not a master of marketing, knowing that I don't have the same connections with the officers that Chief Hodge does. And so using my own personal understanding, the delegating of these tasks led to a greater execution of them than what I think I may have been able to do. April 10th is the date that was finally selected for the event. The purpose of the event was to promote lifelong fitness habits and increase positive community, police, social interactions. I wanted participants to understand the specific opportunities made possible by the push-up exercise if incorporated into daily and weekly activities. And I wanted them also to realize the potential benefits of the push-up exercise, both physically and emotionally, mentally, throughout all of the personal wellness scale. I wanted the participants to be able to leave the event with the knowledge to be able to perform the push-up exercise and make modifications according to their own personal abilities and needs, knowing that everyone is different. And I wanted the participants to realize that, and the police officers to realize that the police and community members are not physically different. Both police officers and community members perform the push-up during this event, and I wanted them all to see that we're not so different. Each session consisted of 3 parts. Each session was 30 minutes. The 3 parts included a lecture for the first roughly 10 minutes, followed by a demonstration phase and then a practice phase. The demonstration phase included myself and Becky Rocker, one of my coworkers, to be demonstrating the various types of push-ups that were discussed in the lecture. And then the practice phase was for the participants and police officers of the event to be able to actually physically perform the push-up exercise with the various modifications that Becky and I demonstrated, while Becky and I gave real-time feedback to the participants and police officers so they would know exactly what they should be feeling, how they should be feeling it, and any modifications or further adjustments to their form that needed to be made. The lecture covered 6 topics, 6 broad topics. The first is why perform the push-up exercise in the first place. I presented research as to the comparison between the push-ups exercise and bench press, both with dumbbell and barbells. I explained various push-up modifications that can be made in order to alter the way the push-up exercise affected the body through repetition. I explained the modifications of the push-up exercise and how it affects body weight support during the push-up. I explained also the police fitness test requirements in the state of Ohio and how they would compare to how the participants performed during the event. And then I also provided research explaining how police tested results over time and the implications that can be drawn to everyday citizens. The demonstration phase touched on 5 different aspects that can be changed within the push-up without the addition of equipment. The first is the point of contact, whether it's toe contact or knee contact, and the pivot point, changing the length of the lever arm. The second was whether the push-up was performed with palms on the floor or knuckles on the floor. Then there's the variations of a wide grip versus a narrow grip compared to normal, a hand placement superior or inferior to the shoulders compared to normal, or internal versus external rotation of the humerus, often viewed as rotating the hands in or out compared to neutral of the base level push-up. This picture shows the officers practicing an externally rotated form for the push-up exercise. Then the participants you can see in the background, Becky Rocker in the background, and there's one other participant located off to the left. One officer, the furthest officer, is in full gear. The middle officer took his vest off but still had his belt on, so some increased weight around the hips. And then the furthest to the left, that is Chief Jay Hodge performing in just regular workout equipment. A final picture of one of the sessions that we had, the 3 participants and the 3 officers we had, along with myself and Becky at the end of the workout. After the event was over, I would call it a success. I think it went well. There were no snags. There was no holdups. The team members were pleased with the outcomes of the event. Each one expressed their gratitude for creating the event in the first place and for being involved throughout the process in a democratic manner. They each felt that their opinions were heard and that their thoughts came to fruition along with mine. I would say the event is replicable. It is something that can be taken from community to community and implemented within various YMCAs, various fitness centers, with local police departments, and can be used to promote a greater use of the push-up exercise in everyday and weekly physical lifestyle behavior. Take place. The event took place at One-to-One Fitness in the functional training zone between 11:30 and 1:30. The Keep America Active participants were able to register online, and we did have multiple Case Western Reserve police officers present for the event.